The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
It's April, and we have some big things going on, Lewis. I'll tell our audience about a number of them throughout the show, but I don't want to miss any time here getting right into all of the material we have, particularly for our live audience. We're live 2 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Thursday on YouTube, and we're welcoming everybody from the I Love It When I Wake Up in the Morning and Barack Obama is President Facebook page, the Too Informed to Vote Republican Facebook page, and also the We Survive Bush, You'll Survive Obama Facebook page. Check those out. Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, has approved a plan for a merciless rocket strike on the United States, making specific threats about specific cities in the U.S., targeting a number of different cities. And the question, as always, should we really be worried? Do they have the technology to do this or not? The plan that was approved would put North Korea's rockets, whatever the rocket capabilities are, it's not totally clear, on standby to hit a number of different U.S. targets after American stealth bombers carry out a practice mission over South Korea. And Kim has said that he has judged the time has come to settle accounts with the U.S. imperialists in view of the prevailing situation. Now, the official position is that North Korea does not have the capability of hitting the mainland of the U.S., even though Kim Jong-un is making threats about specific mainland cities. But that, the Pacific, Hawaii, South Korea certainly would be within reach potentially. And the question is what happens next? Every time we see more and more escalation, number one, is this a distraction from something else we should be paying more attention to when it comes to North Korea? Number two, how seriously do you take this? And how seriously do we think that behind the scenes it's being taken?
Pretty seriously, on both sides, I think. Do I think we need to be worried about our safety? Probably not so much, but the South Korea thing, yeah, we should be worried about that because, we should be worried about anyone North Korea decides to attack in reality.
Natan, when you hear something like this, do you have any personal fear at all? In other words, how disconnected are we from threats against the country where we live?
Well, as far as I know, the U.S. military has said publicly that there's a certain range where the missiles can reach, right. North Korea's missiles. And I guess the farthest or the closest to the U.S. is Alaska right now. So it doesn't seem like we're in any imminent danger where we are here on the continental U.S., but certainly they could set off a chain reaction. And if China were to get involved supporting them militarily, I don't know if that would happen. But if it did, and the U.S. and Western Europe was supporting South Korea, it could be, a pretty serious conflict. So in that sense, it is a definite threat.
Lewis, do you have any palpable fear when you hear this, or you think about it more as a theoretical thing?
More as a theoretical thing.
If you were in Alaska, would you feel differently?
I don't think so.
Really? So even in Alaska, even though presumably the range there could be sufficient, you still wouldn't be any more afraid?
No, I don't think so. I think we're keeping a pretty close eye on what's happening in North Korea. And I think if North Korea is going to launch an attack on anyone, it's going to be South Korea.
All right. So Lewis is not afraid. Now, I thought right away when I heard that North Korea was making war threats that it had to be related to gay people, because there is nothing that gets North Korea more fired up than American gay people trying to get equality, Lewis. Isn't that what you thought of?
Naturally, yeah.
Well, and my thoughts were corroborated. Fred Luter is the president of the Southern Baptist Convention, and he was on this show called True News, TRU News, with Rick Wiles. It's a religious right talk show. And he said that gays are to blame for North Korea's war threat, or at least it's a possibility. Let's take a listen to this. This is just, what can I say? Let's just listen to it, and then we'll discuss.
Precisely at the same time the Supreme Court is hearing these arguments on same-sex marriage.
Yes.
In Asia, a crazy man in possession of nuclear weapons, Kim Jong-un, is openly saying, I have ordered our military to position our rockets on U.S. targets in Hawaii, Japan, Guam, and the mainland of the United States.
Right.
I mean, he has gone into a full state of war this week. And I don't know, Pastor Luter, if I don't know if anybody's, I know they're not. They're just not putting it together. There's, hey, you got this happening over here, and you got this happening over here. Could the two be connected?
All right, so there's the question, Lewis. You've got North Korea making threats, and then you've got all sorts of activism. You've got these uppity gay people in the U.S. who want equality. Are they connected? Let's hear the answer from Mr. Fred Luter. He's an expert on this, Lewis.
I'm sure.
Or maybe not. Maybe not. Let's see.
Could our slide into immorality be what is unleashing this madman over here in Asia to punish us?
It could be a possibility, man. I'm not that strong in prophecy, but I would not be surprised that there's not a connection there.
Right.
Simply because of the fact we've seen it happen in Scripture before.
Here we go.
So I would not be surprised that at the time when we are debating same-sex marriage, at a time where we're debating whether or not we should have gays leading a Boy Scout movement, I don't think it's just a coincidence that we have a madman in Asia who's saying some of the things that he's saying.
Lewis, it's no coincidence. If you have a conversation halfway around the world from North Korea about whether the Boy Scouts should have gay people, of course Kim Jong-un is going to go completely nuts and threaten war against the U.S. Why would he not? It makes perfect sense.
You know, come to think of it, my knee really hurt this morning, and I'm willing to bet it's because of gays.
I like how he also says he's not an expert in prophecy. Listen, I'm not an expert in prophecy, but it seems feasible to me. It really does.
But he is an expert in bullcrap.
Pastor, is it possible that the Cuban Missile Crisis might have been the result of uppity black folk refusing to sit at the back of the bus? Well, Rick, I'm not an expert in prophecy, but in short, yes, that could be the case.
Wow.
Pastor, every morning the sun comes up, and just before that, I hear a rooster making noise. If I kill the rooster, would the sun no longer come up? And is it possible my rooster is gay? Rick, I'm a little rusty on my prophecy, but I think you might be onto something there. Yeah, I think that there could be something.
We've seen that in Scripture before.
By the way, Pastor Luter's church pays no taxes. It's tax exempt because it's an educational religious institution. How does that make you feel?
Yeah, it makes me feel like opening a church.
Don Young is a Alaska Republican. He's a state representative there. And he was reminiscing about the good old days when his dad used to hire wetbacks to pick tomatoes. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. Let's take a listen to the audio here, and we'll put the quote up for people to look at. The good old days, Lewis, where we used to just be able to hire the wetbacks.
My father had a ranch. We used to hire 50 to 60 wetbacks and to pick tomatoes. You know, it takes two people to pick the same tomatoes now. It's all done by machine.
Yeah. So he's making some kind of nuanced analysis, apparently, of the effect of development of technology on the farming industry. Hey, we used to hire 50 or 60 wetbacks. Actually, he doesn't use the term hire. He says we used to have 50 or 60 wetbacks, which I don't know how much we need to be looking at the minutia of the words he's picking here, but yeah. So some people are saying he basically admitted to profiting from hiring illegal immigrants here, but it actually may not have been the case. We certainly can accuse him of being a racist xenophobe, but we don't know for sure that these were illegally hired immigrants, Lewis, because there were actually some kind of visiting worker agreements with Texas and other states in the South.
Yes, he might have very well been in compliance with state and federal labor laws.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. So then he put an initial apology together. Let's put that up for people, and it's not very good. Let's see if I can pull that up and read it myself. During a sit-down interview with Ketchikan Public Radio this week, I used a term that was commonly used during my days growing up on a farm in Central California. I know that this term is not used in the same way nowadays, and I meant no disrespect. So this was not a great apology, Lewis. This was kind of like I apologize that I used outdated language, and I'm not going to make any reference to the offensive nature of this thing. So apology number 1 didn't take. And then he did apology number 2, which we can put up for people who are watching. I apologize for the insensitive term. There was no malice in my heart or intent to offend. It was a poor choice of words. And again, this is slightly better, but it's one of those, I apologize that people were offended because I wasn't trying to offend anyone and I used the wrong words. But okay, I guess that one is more acceptable. Do you like the second apology?
I don't like either one.
You don't like either?
No.
My dad owned a number of delis when I was a kid, and each year he'd hire a bunch of kikes to run taxes for him. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Whoa. We don't call them that anymore. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, no. Yeah, I'm sorry. I used it was inappropriate choice of words, but that's what he did. That's what we did back then when we ran delis, and we needed to have our taxes done. You know.
Wow.
Hell of a guy.
Why couldn't he just say Mexicans?
Right. As if that wouldn't have been offensive enough, he had to use the term wetbacks.
Yeah. As if, I think it's a bit more clear, too, when you refer to someone as exactly what they are based on the country they're from.
Well,
But-
yeah. And the other issue, of course, is that a lot of them probably weren't even from Mexico.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe in that sense, he was being all inclusive. I don't know.
I don't know. I think that makes things worse.
He certainly was digging a hole pretty deep here. Pretty deep. Let me make a book recommendation to you. Actually, I'm really interested in making this one. This is an excellent book. Now, my book recommendation is, of course, made possible in part by A Fashion of Bastards by Joanna Louise Johnson. It is a frantic plunge into a web of conspiracy, reaching from the Middle East oil fields to a plot to suck the vital waters of the Great Lakes dry. I have not read anything by Kurt Vonnegut, and some people might be shocked to hear that. I know you seem particularly distraught to hear that.
I am, yeah.
Yeah. But I finally did. I read Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, and it is excellent. I recommend it on a number of different levels. One, it's just a really good read. It's got dark humor. It's incredibly well written. It's a very, very good book. But it has a bunch of political messages in it as well about not so much indoctrination, but really about the concept of country and the concept of not so much patriotism, but of the idea of these kind of imaginary lines that have been drawn that distinguish one country from another. And it also really says a lot about kind of the fear of the development of technology, and it really ties in a whole bunch of great stuff. The book is from the early 60s, and it's fantastic. I can't imagine anybody who likes this show, Lewis, well, anybody who likes this show for the reasons we hope they like it as opposed to they just like trolling, wouldn't enjoy this book. I recommend it to you as well.
Thank you.
So again, the recommendation is Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut. Check it out. We will take a break, but before we do that, Lewis, let me talk about today's bonus show. Today's bonus show is excellent. We will talk about one of Lewis's favorite topics, urine-controlled video games. Urine-controlled video games on today's show. We'll also talk about bionic eye technology. And would you eat kangaroo? A restaurant in Queens is now serving kangaroo burgers. And we'll talk about that. How do you get the bonus show? Very easy. Go to our website, davidpakman.com/membership. Sign up, become a member, and within minutes, literally, you will be listening to today's bonus show. We'll take a break. Plenty more after this. Stay with us.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome back to the show. If you do any shopping at all on Amazon, you could be helping to support the David Pakman Show. What do I mean? Very easy. You go to our website, davidpakman.com, and on the right side of the website, as you scroll down, you'll see a link to Amazon. Now, if you click that and then do your shopping, after you check out, Amazon will send us back 7% of your purchase. Now, if you bookmark that link, you can just go to your bookmark, use it whenever you shop. You don't even have to visit our website first. Nothing will look different when you check out, but Amazon sends us back 7% of your purchase. A big help to the show. I know you're using it quite a bit. Aren't you getting your groceries now from Amazon just so you don't even have to leave the house?
No.
Not yet. Okay. Some people I know are doing that.
Good for them.
Yeah. You can also become a David Pakman Show member, made possible in part by liberalbias.com. Liberal bias teaches us that, you know what, good conservatives know that climate change is a myth. But there are all these graphs and charts that seem to disagree with that, and liberalbias.com will explain to you why every single graph and chart related to temperature, weather, other sciencey things is just completely destroyed by liberal bias, liberalbias.com. Today's new member of the day is Teresa Chavez. Teresa is a longtime David Pakman Show member, and she is a huge supporter of the David Pakman Show. So a personal thank you to Teresa and to every other David Pakman Show member. It means quite a bit, Louis. Very much appreciated.
Indeed.
It is April 1st. It is time not for some kind of weird April Fool's joke, but for a very serious fundraiser that I've been talking off and on about for a couple of weeks now. We have launched an Indiegogo fundraiser to convert our entire show to high definition. To go to the fundraiser, it's very easy. You go to davidpakman.com. At the top of the page, in bright green, you can't miss it, there is a banner that will take you to our Indiegogo fundraiser. A number of reasons why we're doing this, Louis. Number one, we just need to convert the show to high definition because it'll look much better. That's just the kind of obvious number one thing.
Of course.
We've talked to a bunch of our YouTube partners and friends, and they've all said when they made the switch, traffic went up, views went up. It was a big deal. So that's number one. Number two, the plans for 2013 for the David Pakman Show are significant. And part of those plans involves pitching the show to Roku, ATT Uverse, Netflix, all sorts of streaming services. And if we go to them as an independent show, we're already going to have an uphill battle. If we're not in high definition, if we can't make the case that the production value of the show is as good as it can be and in high definition, we're also going to be at a disadvantage. So we want to already be able to go and say, we have a program already being produced in high definition. And number three, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we're working on, the specifics of which I won't get into yet, but really big stuff for 2013. And a lot of it is in one way or another dependent on upgrading the entire broadcast to high definition. So we put this out last week. Last couple of weeks, I said, listen, if you want to get in early on the fundraiser, let me know. And over the weekend, before we launch it, I'll let you know, and then you can contribute early, thinking that if we can get a good start, we have a much better shot of making our goal. And we already have, even though the fundraiser literally launched 20 minutes ago, we already have close to $2,000 of the $30,000 in. We're almost 10% of the way there, Louis, and we haven't even started. Now, that being said, those generous contributions are not going to get us all the way there. So it's the numbers are really very straightforward. If every David Pakman Show audience member threw $5 at our fundraiser today, the fundraiser ends today and we exceed the $30,000 goal easily, Louis. That's the reality. Mm-hmm. The other reality is that not everybody has an extra $5 to throw at this. So please, if nothing else, check out the Indiegogo fundraiser page, davidpakman.com, green banner at the top. Share it using the Facebook and Twitter links. Put a comment on there supporting what we're doing. Those three things help to push the fundraiser to the front page of Indiegogo. That alone would be huge. Fundraisers that hit the front page do very, very well, Louis.
Yes, they do.
That being said, please think about what this program is worth. How much is independent media worth to you? How much is taking a show that started in the basement of one community radio station and has now grown to 160 stations, DirecTV and Dish Network distribution, 41,000 subscribers on YouTube. It has done all of that without big corporate or big media support. And now we have the opportunity to take it to the next level. This is pretty serious. Think about what that's worth to you. Think about what it would mean to be a part of that. And check out some of the cool perks we have. We've got a bunch of exclusive David Pakman Show items which are not available anywhere. We have opportunities for you to actually be interviewed on our show about how you found the David Pakman Show and why it's important to you. So please check that out, davidpakman.com, green banner at the top of the page. Anything you can do, very, very much appreciated. Let's talk about fast food. As you know, Louis, I am famous for nothing having to do with this show, but for having gone, at this point, I believe it's about 15 years without having been to a McDonald's. As you know, that's really what I'm known for.
Yes.
And McDonald's nutritionist Cindy Goody is saying that McDonald's food is actually healthy. I don't believe that that's the case, and we'll talk to you about why that is not the case. But just days before a study came out from the Center for Science and the Public Interest, McDonald's decided that they were going to put their nutritionist out to say, hey, our food's not really that bad. Why? Well, that study from the Center for Science and the Public Interest made it very clear that there is no kids' meal at McDonald's that even comes close to passing the USDA's nutritional recommendations. This is not a surprise to many people.
Right.
But a lot of people, including the nutritionist from McDonald's, claim to go to McDonald's multiple times a day. Shocking, I know, Louis.
Oh, wow.
So what did she say? Well, she said, we're making nutrition more mainstream at McDonald's today. She noted that in the past few years, McDonald's has added oatmeal, chicken sandwiches with buns that boast 8 grams of whole grains, and a new Happy Meal with apples and a smaller portion of fries. Also, chocolate milk at McDonald's used to be 1% fat. It is now fat-free. And she said all of that stuff came from careful listening to moms in particular and recognizing people are becoming more mindful about what they're putting in their mouth. And she went on to say, McDonald's food can absolutely be healthy. She said, and this is really it blows my mind if it's true. And if it's just marketing and PR, then it's despicable that she's lying. I'm a mom of a 2-year-old, and I gained the prerequisite 30 pounds, and I was able to lose all that baby weight. I don't have a fast metabolism, and I eat at McDonald's once or twice a day. Really? Plus, I work out the recommended 5 hours a week. I may eat an Egg McMuffin and apples. My new thing is to have either a hamburger or a double hamburger, no cheese, or cheese product, as is the case at McDonald's, 2 bags of apple slices, and an oatmeal cookie, and still keeping it under 600 calories. So what's the reality here? And again, that report said every child meal offered at popular food chains, including McDonald's, but it also includes Dairy Queen, Chipotle Mexican Grill, Hardee's, Panda Express, and a whole bunch of other places, does not even meet the minimum standards of the USDA nutritional recommendations. That's the reality. Let's analyze what she said. Why would anyone go to McDonald's only to get some apple slices and an oatmeal cookie? I might be wrong about this, Lewis, but those are food items anybody can just bring along with them anywhere that they go. In other words, it's kind of it's disingenuous to say it's not that bad at McDonald's because you just got to get bags of apples. Right. People are going to McDonald's, Lewis, to buy bags of apples. Doesn't make any sense.
No. Everything she's saying is completely ridiculous. But you know what? She's paid to say it. And I really doubt she believes it. If she does, that's really sad, and I feel really bad for her kid. But, I mean, this is really no different from the multiple stories we talk about politicians saying, well, you know, there's really no evidence that this chemical is bad for people, right, or that, you know, that air pollution is bad for people. You know, riding a bike creates air pollution.
Exactly. It's similar. Yeah. And the reality is, Natan, if it can be healthy to go to McDonald's, as long as all you do is order bottled water, bags of apples, and an oatmeal cookie, then why would you be at McDonald's in the first place? Why would McDonald's be profitable, given that every place sells that stuff?
Look, if you make your own organic peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you bring an organic apple and you eat it inside of a McDonald's, it's perfectly healthy. Yeah. Now, I mean, this is like trusting BP to tell you that the Gulf Coast is totally fine.
Yeah, there's no oil at all, Lewis. They had it all cleaned up. 90% of it was gone within a few hours of stopping the leak.
Right.
It's ridiculous. And I really hope, I think that this is really a big issue. People have to understand you've got to avoid this stuff, and that there are alternatives that are also cost effective.
Yeah, people are learning very slowly, but people are learning.
Lewis, you are a big proponent and a big time owner of Juicy Couture clothing, are you not?
No, I've never owned one article of clothing from them in my life ever.
Well, they have some shirts which say they have printed on them, manufactured in glamorous USA, right? That's printed on them. However, there's also an actual tag which says made in Vietnam. So a little bit of confusion there with some Juicy Couture items. And so you have the T-shirts are silk screened with manufactured in the glamorous USA. But then the tags which indicate where it's actually produced say made in Vietnam. So couple of questions I have. Maybe we made a distinction between what it means to manufacture something and what it means to make something. Now, according to the FTC, products can only say made in the USA if 75% or more of the components are U.S. origin and if they're substantially transformed in the USA, right? I don't really think that this is a product that undertook any kind of significant transformation once it came in from Vietnam. Do you?
I really doubt it.
So this was posted on Twitter. Someone said, you know, you might want to remember to remove the made in Vietnam tags if it's going to be an article of clothing lying about being made in the USA. And a spokesperson for Juicy Couture said, we would like to thank Jezebel, which is the website that wrote this up, and the person on Twitter for bringing this to our attention and apologize to consumers for our error and any confusion. Line by line, so far they're admitting absolutely nothing. The shirt in question was altered late in the design process, and once the manufactured in the glamorous USA graphic was added, it should have been among our many items made in the USA. That did not happen, and instead it was made in Vietnam without a change to the graphic. It's a mistake we very much regret. Right now we're in the process of removing this item from the selling floor and instituting processes to ensure it will not happen again. It's okay, fine. They've apologized. It's very funny to me that basically they're saying, thanks to a random person on Twitter for letting us know that our entire production process and marketing campaign was misleading and that we appear to be completely incompetent at the basic proofing of items that we sell. Thanks to Twitter for letting us know.
And thank you to Twitter for reminding everyone that the $150 shirt you just purchased cost us $5 to make.
Right, yeah. No, that Natan might be the biggest revelation from this, that something that they would have been glad to pass off as made in the U.S. It costs a lot, and it was probably made in some kind of sweatshop-like conditions.
Ridiculous. Totally ridiculous.
NRA literature has been discovered in Newtown shooter Adam Lanza's home. The NRA is, of course, continuing to distance themselves from the entire situation and continuing to advocate for gun policy that would increase the number of guns sold, not decrease. And so what was found there exactly? There was, police revealed that they had, when they executed a search warrant in the home of Adam Lanza, they found a spiral-bound book called The NRA Guide to the Basics of Pistol Shooting. Also found in the home was an NRA certification for Adam Lanza, as well as a bunch of other odd items, which we don't really need to go into because they're not relevant to this story. Now, the NRA has been very, very vocal about opposing any kind of legislation that would ban the weapons that Adam Lanza used to murder the 20-plus kids at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And the NRA has been very against even basic things like just universal background checks no matter where the gun is purchased. Very, very basic things. And now they are saying in a prepared statement that Adam Lanza was not a member of their organization. That's their response. Well, nobody is alleging that. This is a classic instance of responding to an allegation that nobody made. The allegation is he was studying NRA materials about how to use pistols, and that he also had taken a class that did not require membership. He earned a certification that did not require NRA membership. So no surprise to me, Lewis, that the NRA is deflecting and equivocating.
Of course, they're very good at that. I mean, should we be concerned that this connection exists?
Well, we should be concerned. But what I want to be clear about is my concern over the NRA is not their training classes. In fact, if everybody had to take some kind of training class, ideally not one sponsored by the biggest gun lobby in the country, but some kind of training class, we would probably be better off. But the problem is the NRA's role in society seems to be mixed up. Their role is to sell more guns and prevent legislation that reduces the sale of guns to their clients, which are not really the members, the gun companies. And that seems to be lost when we are considering the NRA as some kind of authority on gun safety. We need to remember what their role is, which is to sell guns.
Basically, yeah. So should gun instruction manuals or gun training papers also be should it be legislated that those should be locked up in gun safes as well?
No, no. The manuals don't have to be locked up, but it would really be great if the NRA's main interest, because of the money they take, is not gun safety, it's selling guns. So I think it's a conflict for them to be even providing these manuals. And as we saw, Adam Lanza had one in his house.
Fair.
Let's take a break. A lot more coming up. I want to talk about some hilarious allegations that are being made about what would happen if gay marriage was legalized and a lot of other stuff. So stay with us. A lot more coming up. Facebook.com/David Pakman Show. Visit us there, and we'll be back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Last week we talked about the Supreme Court hearing two different cases related to marriage equality. the Proposition 8 case out of California, as well as the Defense of Marriage Act. Now, we're expecting to hear the results of the Supreme Court cases in about June. And we are getting complete apoplexy and disjointed, illogical thinking from so many of the most homophobic elements of this country. And along those lines is Georgia Republican chairperson Sue Everhart. She is chairwoman of the Georgia Republican Party. And her big concern, aside from thinking that homosexuality and two men or two women being married to each other is unnatural, which is kind of like the baseline for all of these people, her concern is that straight people might choose to enter fraudulent gay marriages simply for the benefits, kind of like gay people have been doing since marriage began as an institution because they don't have a legal alternative. And when you listen to what she said, it's very telling. She said, you may be straight as an arrow, and you may have a friend that's straight as an arrow. Say you had a great job with the government where you had this wonderful health plan. I mean, what would prohibit you from saying that you're gay and y'all get married and still live as separate, but you get all the benefits? I just see so much abuse in this that it's unreal. I believe a husband and a wife should be a man and a woman. The benefits should be for a man and a woman. There is no way that this is about equality. To me, it's all about a free ride. So, number one, to say that the entire movement is about straight people getting a free ride shows probably some evidence of mental illness, or at least only the most flimsy grasp with reality. That's number one.
A flimsy grasp of reality is what I'd put my money on.
But number two, the fact that this is her concern when all of the things she's describing, right? She talks about divorce, entering into a marriage simply for financial gain, divorcing for child care benefits, lousy parenting, all of the things she's concerned about happening if gay marriage is legalized already happen in heterosexual marriages, and she doesn't seem that concerned about that. She's only concerned about it when it comes to gay and lesbian couples.
Right. You have to wonder if it's an actual concern or if she just hates gay people.
Well, eventually she gets to that. She says, Lord, I'm going to get in trouble over this, but it is not natural for two women or two men to be married. If it was natural, they would have the equipment to have a sexual relationship. And to that, I would say, it's not clear Sue Everhart has the equipment to be thinking critically about these issues from what she's saying.
I mean, I don't think she has the equipment to be in office, but that's just me.
She has been elected, Lewis, and we must respect her office, and we must, all that stuff that people said when George W. Bush was president.
We don't have to tell her she's good at it, though.
All that stuff Republicans said when George W. Bush was president that they don't now support because President Obama's president, about respecting the office and the process and the democracy, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. That's what we have to think about this.
Well, we'll take the high road.
And New York One's The Call received a call from an individual named Chris in Staten Island who said that gays should be beheaded. Now, a lot of people are making a huge deal out of this video, and it is shocking. But when I listen to the tone of the caller, I actually am questioning whether it's not just a parody or prank call. In any case, it's kind of interesting to see how the host reacts, which I think is not really that good. I'll play it for you. Take a look.
Hi, Chris.
Hello,
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
My opinion is something you're not going to agree with, but
That's okay.
I'm Muslim, and I believe 110% in Sharia law. Mm-hmm. Sharia law needs to be implemented in the United States because that's the only way this deviant lifestyle will be corrected. You know what happens in Saudi Arabia and other countries, Islamic countries? You know what happens to the gay people, correct?
Mm-hmm. I don't agree with it.
They're beheaded, and that, I believe, I'm going to fight as hard as I can with all my Muslim brothers and sisters to make Sharia law in the United States.
But so people should be beheaded for being gay? I mean, come on. This is
a
America.
sin. No, you don't like, you're anti-Muslim?
I'm not anti-Muslims, but...
You are anti-Muslim if you're saying that about my religion.
I'm saying
about
in America.
My religion?
No. I'm saying in America. You really believe people should be beheaded?
Too.
I understand
We are
that.
Muslims. Yes, of course. Government should do that.
So you have no friends who are gay, Chris?
No, I don't.
Okay, and if
I
you
don't
did
choose to associate with those people.
With those,
that lifestyle, that lifestyle is deviant, and it's against Islam, and it should.
Okay. That's fine to feel that way, but to believe that they should be beheaded is a little extreme.
Obviously, because you're going to call the whole kingdom of Saudi Arabia strange.
I'm just saying beheading people for their sexual preference is extreme. Those are my words.
You're against but that's against Muslim countries. Then you're against Islam.
So a couple of thoughts. Maybe it's not a parody. I don't. What do you think from hearing it?
It sounds like it is.
You think it is some kind of parody?
Yes.
Let's assume it isn't for a
It
second.
sounds like this is someone trying to bring attention to extreme religious beliefs that he finds to be crazy.
Assuming it is true, she didn't handle it well, the host that is. She should say, instead of getting caught in this weird trap about being against people's religion, she should say, I'm not against anyone's freedom of religion, whatever that religion is, up to the point at which it involves violence or discrimination against others, period, full stop. Instead of getting into this thing of, well, no, I'm not against King Abdullah, whatever. In any case, very, very odd. I have no idea if it's real or not, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Tennessee State Senators Bill Ketron and Judd Matheny have a reputation for being anti-Muslim. And speaking of Sharia law, they are very, very afraid of Sharia law in this country, even though they're into a Christian version of that Sharia law, as is often the case. And they sprung into action, Lewis, and were demanding answers after a mop sink was installed in the state capitol. They thought that the mop sink might be a Muslim foot washing sink, and they demanded answers, Lewis.
Well, what did they get?
They got an explanation that it's just a mop sink.
And then what did they do?
Then they were okay with it.
Really? Because it sounds like these are the type of people who would say, no, you're lying to us. This is definitely not a mop sink.
They contacted State Senate Clerk Russell Humphrey to ask if it had been installed outside the House chamber men's restroom to accommodate Muslim ritual foot washing. And they received a response saying, guys, it's just a mop sink. That's it. And just to give you a sense of who we're dealing with, here's Senator Bill Ketron talking about Muslims a couple years ago related to some kind of anti-Muslim legislation.
Go to a summer study committee and sit down with them, the ones that I've met with, and the 2 times we've met with them. They still want to talk us into doing that, but at the same time they want to beat their fist on the table on top of the bill and say it's a mean-spirited bill and it needs to go away. So I don't see any reason to delay and go through that process, because 12 months from now they're still going to feel the same way no matter what we call it, how we change the language. I don't know any other way to change the language.
Yeah, Muslims are just not going to be happy with his bill no matter what. Seems like a hell of a guy. Very, very nice guy. Reportedly, he saw those electric vehicle charging stations, and he thought they were condom dispensers, and he was really worried that young kids might be able to get into them and accidentally learn something about proper sex education, in spite of anything he would do.
Right. He'd rather have a million unwanted pregnancies in his state.
But he's against abortion, Lewis, because he's pro-family.
Of course. Yeah. Well, he better be a big fan of welfare then.
All right, let's take a break. I still want to talk about this question, which over the weekend was asked. What about if you paid an airline ticket price based on your weight? Back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com. The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
NBC News is reporting that the concept of having heavier flyers, airline passengers, pay more is getting support from a European economist named Bharat Bhatta, who says it actually makes sense and it's logical that your ticket cost is directly correlated with body weight. This was a study published in the Journal of Revenue and Pricing Management this month. And he says, it takes more fuel to transport heavier people. Obese flyers are producing more wear and tear on the airline seats. So a pay-as-you-weigh system distributes costs fairly among passengers. And he says you could have one of 3 models. One is you would have fares according to actual weight, where it's just like a fixed rate per pound. If you weigh 260, you pay twice as much as 130. Another one would be a fixed base fare for average weight passengers, and then you either pay extra if you're heavy, or you get a refund if you're very light. And the other option would be a system where you have basically 3 separate fares: average weight, and then an above average and a below average. Now, the problem I really want to discuss whether this is discriminatory. So you are not overweight if you weigh 260 if you're really tall, right? So is this really about obesity and being overweight, or is it just about how much fuel the airplane is burning based on how much you weigh? So let's analyze that first. If it's just weight and it has nothing to do whether you're obese or not, is it discriminatory?
Well, based on how these companies operate, from their perspective, no, there's nothing discriminatory about it. It costs them more to move a heavier person. It's as simple as that.
Here's the problem I have. If you have the traditional airline seating, right, where it's a specific number of seats, if someone weighs 15% more, you don't have room for one less person or what have you. In other words, the number of seats is fixed. Now, if everybody on the plane was significantly overweight, yes, you would probably be over the weight limit. You'd have to get people off the plane, but that's relatively rare. However, if you had a system where the seats were arranged in such a way that if someone actually did take up more or less space, you could fit a different number of people on that plane, this may be more justified. But the reality, Natan, is that that's not the case. There is a fixed number of seats, and having a few people that weigh a little more, I don't know if it really correlates with that amount of increased cost.
Even if it did, I think that it's troubling. I mean, certainly an argument could be made that it's highly discriminatory. To start with, it's like you said, you can't control the minimum healthy BMI range given your height, which is something you can't control. So you would have to either say it doesn't matter if you're overweight. If you weigh more, even if you're of normal weight given your height, you have to pay more. I think that's troubling. I think that you should pay for one seat. I could see a legitimate argument, which we've talked about before, which is that if you take up more than one seat, especially in economy class, maybe you have to pay extra because that actually affects other passengers.
Yeah, and that's already policy on a lot of airlines. The real question maybe we're getting to is the price you pay for an airline ticket the price for a seat or the price for a person? In other words, are you paying for a ride or for a seat? On a plane, I believe you are paying for a seat. Therefore, if a passenger of size is infringing upon your space, you paid for a seat and you have less than a seat available. On a city bus, I think you're paying for a ride. You might end up standing. It's not a price per seat. You're really paying for a ride. I think that's a distinguishing factor. That being said, airline executives seem to be not going anywhere near this idea, and it's unlikely it'll happen.
Yeah, I really doubt it will ever happen. I mean, they could at least be more accommodating to people of size if they're going to pay more. But it seems like if anything's happening with planes, the seats are getting smaller.
By the way, there is already an airline, Samoa Air, the national carrier of Samoa, that announced this plan back in December. They have a fleet of very small planes, and they're actually very sensitive to the weight of the passengers, and they are charging based on weight.
All right.
We'll see how that goes. Send me your thoughts on this one. Interested to hear what you think. Let's go to some voicemails. Got a bunch of voicemail. Let me play some for you. Our voicemail number, of course, is 219-2-DAVID-P. We heard now from Homeless Daryl. Homeless Daryl checking back in on the latest. Take a listen to this.
Hey, guys. Calling with a multitude of thankfulness from the West Coast of California. I wanted to say thank you for a thoughtful, interesting, and quite provoking show today. Yet another. I wanted to say thank you for making me a member.
No problem.
Gracias for the offer of a hoodie, which will keep me warm. And I wanted to let you know that a scrub Okie is someone who sleeps underneath bushes, or scrub bushes.
Right. So I think what it is it's an East Coast, West Coast thing. We refer to them as shrubs, and I think he's referring to it as a scrub, Lewis. It may just be a little bit of a dialect barrier.
Could be.
So that being said, we're going to do the hoodie thing. Our friendly insurance agent, Loretta, has offered to purchase a hoodie for Homeless Daryl. We are going to get it sent out to him. Daryl, here's the deal. Please, number one, take a picture of where the hoodie is delivered to, because as we saw, it appears to be a field on Google Maps. We want to see what that looks like. And take a picture of yourself with the hoodie. Send it in. Let's figure out a way to send it in. And that's where we'll go. Thank you to Loretta for offering to do that. And a quick voicemail about the 11-year-old with the gun. No time for that voicemail, Lewis says today. We will get to that one tomorrow. The Indiegogo campaign, which we are running through April to raise $30,000 to expand the entire show to high definition, is now live. Please consider making a contribution. DavidPakman.com. Green banner at the top of the page. You can't miss it. I don't know what else to say. It's time to do it.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.